kicking back off to part 3. We're on day 39, and I just did a kind of emergency bivvy camp in this tiny patch that I could find. So I went down to the beach first and just dried my stuff off because the sleeping bag was absolutely soaked from camping in the bivvy. Took the road around to Portofino. You know, it's a beautiful coastal route, you know, you're just alongside the sea the whole way, and it was very sunny, which, you know, is always a help. So I finished the coffee, but I wanted to hang around a bit longer, so I was kind of slowly heading out, and I stopped by this ice cream gelateria. I think it was called Geppi's, and I had the best ice cream I had on this trip, and I think throughout the whole thing, to be honest. It was a mixture of pistachio, orange zest, almonds, and some other ingredient I can't quite remember, but just all of them together just tasted so good. I was tempted to get, you know, another one, but I was just like, it probably won't do my stomach any good. So I really enjoyed that, and then I head off back down the coast to go, you know, start heading east. And I made a stop at the beach just to have another dip in the sea, and my setup is definitely not good for sand, and it definitely wouldn't be good for snow either. Anything that compacts under the wheels, and it makes the bike weigh almost twice as much as it, you know, actually does.
Sì, l'olio? Olio.
C'è ad esempio egiziano, potevate vedere balene all'osservatorio astronomico di Sydney o ancora nell'arcipelago.
So after doing a short stint inland over the hills, I came back to the coast, and this was another great part to ride the bike because it was very flat. It's by this strip of beach called Massa. There's, you know, Massa's one portion of it, but it's like so many different places along it. I might head over the bridge to see what's there. It seems that a lot of people are heading that way. The sun is still up. It's still, well, you can see on my face. It's probably around 3 o'clock. Yeah, 3:05. A couple more hours of sunlight and then it dips. I'd definitely come back here just for kind of like a relaxing kind of beach holiday. It seems like more of like a family destination. It's got this amazing promenade that just goes all the way down, you know, it goes on for miles, I'd say. And it's just got nice restaurants, gelaterias, cafes. And the beach there is kind of divided into strips between the certain units. You know, it would be like a restaurant here, and it has the plot from the road all the way to the sea, so they have their lounges and stuff. And then there'll be like beach clubs, hotels, and I think their plot goes all the way to the sea as well. So it's kind of divided that way, and it just seems very kind of like, you know, man-made, but it's good because it allows all that infrastructure to kind of like work fluidly, and the bikes and people can just walk down the promenade. So I was heading southeast now, and I pulled up to Pisa, which, you know, a very touristy destination, and I didn't really know what to expect, to be honest. I just imagined that it might be slightly overrated, but when I got in there, I was definitely proven wrong. You know, Pisa is a charming place, to be honest. And it is quite grand seeing the tower and just how much it actually does lean. And you can see people walking up the top and stuff like that. And it was so busy. And there's a big kind of, I think it's a cathedral that runs, you know, just next to the tower and just continues on. And it was a very sunny day as well. But not only that, not only like the main sites, but the rest of the city is just very beautiful as well. There was a view from the river that just kind of like opened up to like the colored houses, the bridges, and just looked like an absolutely wonderful kind of portrait that you could just hang on the wall. So my idea of Pisa definitely changed. I would recommend 100% for people to go there. It is a lovely place. Just chilling with the horses, which means I get all the horse flies as well. I don't know if I'm ahead of schedule or not. I mean, it's day 43 and I'm already past Pisa. I could keep going south, but I feel like I want to save some for next year, for the next part of the trip. But maybe it's better to do it now while the weather is around 15 to 20 degrees. I guess, yeah, I don't know.
Buon appetito!
Grazie.
Is number one. Con i panni fai gianfranco col pane.
È un virus che colpisce 4 persone su 5 senza distinzione di età.
Said you're English?
Sì, sono inglese.
Where do you come from?
London.
Ah, London.
Oh yeah, I was born in London, but live up north with my parents now. I left my job to do this, to cycle in Italy.
I lived in Yorkshire.
That's where I live now, North Yorkshire.
I see. Halifax.
Halifax. Ah, you
Near
don't have the
Manchester, Leeds.
yes, a very northern accent.
Yes.
Halifax, yeah.
Yes.
You don't have that.
I know. I've lost it. I've lost it in all these years that I'm here, because as soon as they hear me speak in English, they always say, "Where are you from?" From Yorkshire.
Yeah, from Yorkshire.
Yeah. Okay.
Enjoy.
Good luck. Good luck. Bye bye.
Guys, it is absolutely freezing. Last night was so cold, and I'm not surprised. There is a frost everywhere today. Hopefully this is a one-off and it goes back to being slightly warmer than this. But, oh god. Tough getting out of bed this morning. So I woke up to a very cold morning, and my next destination was quite a small place, but very historic, San Gimignano. I think I said that right. But yeah, this place was recommended by quite a lot of people who kind of do touristy trips around Tuscany. So I headed towards there, and I could just see kind of like the town on the hill with these towers, and there used to be quite a few towers there. I think a similar story to Bologna, how it was like each family was building a tower bigger than the other, and over time, you know, these kind of fell down, and a few remain.
Il saggio, quando sarai dinanzi al dolce raggio, di quella il cui bell'occhio tutto vede, da lei saprai di tua vita il viaggio.
This is probably the most kind of preserved historic place I've been to. Everywhere you went, you didn't really see an influence of like modernization in the facades. You know, when you go inside, of course, you know, there's electricity and things like that, but they kind of preserved everything as best they could, and it kind of really brought you back in time, especially when it turned night and they had like this nice orange glow from the lamps as opposed to kind of like a sterilizing white. So it was quite a nice place to kind of see into the afternoon, into the evening, and then head out at night time to try and find a campsite as well.
Saturday night because I couldn't bear to earn that. You know, getting all this. I know what they think. Maybe that's false.
Day 46 currently, and I'm just in a hotel room just north of Siena. I arrived probably like 2 p.m, 3 p.m. yesterday, and I just stayed here for the remainder of that day. It takes a lot of time to kind of sort out all the gear after 3 days of camping, or even just one day of camping. You know, you gotta wash things, you gotta dry everything, charge stuff, take the food out, wash the food kit. So the time just kind of gets eaten away, and I spent a lot of that as well, just kind of chilling, just watching stuff, and can never really get around to, you know, editing everything that I want to do. I got about 45 minutes before I have to check out, pack up all my stuff, have a shower, and upload the reel from yesterday, and then I'll probably head into Siena. So Siena is famous for its big square, the Piazza del Campo, where they hold this race, bareback horse riding. I think it's called the Palio di Siena. And yeah, it's a very old tradition. They do it in July and August, so I wasn't in that window. And yeah, they cover the square in like the sand so the horses can actually run on it as opposed to the cobbles. They cordon it off, and you know, the race goes around that. It's a very old tradition, and of course that means the square is just absolutely huge. You know, it's very beautiful, and when there's nothing in there, you just see how big it is. And there's nice restaurants and cafes kind of surrounding the perimeter. But as you kind of leave that perimeter, you know, it's kind of like alleyways that all come into it. And once you go into the alleyways, you're in the side streets that kind of like circle around that center, and they're very kind of immersive and historic as well. So I left Siena heading southeast, and I wanted to make it to Perugia, which was the capital of the Umbria region. And it was, yeah, very cold still at this point. You know, I was basically fighting the cold snap. I was trying to head further south to be able to escape it and hopefully get some sun. Of course, that was not working. It was still, you know, 5 to 0 degrees at night. And I was staying in cafes as much as I could in the evenings just to stay warm. You know, my hands were going numb and everything. It's just not very enjoyable cycling in the cold at night, especially in some of the big roads that you have to head on to actually make some, you know, considerable distance.
Adesso abbiamo... sì, allora non volevo mettere di ansia, ma in un attimo sarà Natale, allora fatevi trovare pronti per gestire al meglio tutti gli ordini natalizi. Comunque tranquilli e più semplici.
It is currently day 48. This morning was extremely cold, had a big frost. Now just making some warm porridge. Stay above that curve with some frozen peanut butter. Whoa. Lovely. Can't forget that salt. Never forget the salt. It may not look the part, but the flavors are all there. That's so good. With it getting so cold now, approaching 0, I'm not really gonna hang around too much, I don't think. More than I need to. So I'm gonna head to Perugia, which will be in Umbria. And then I think I'm gonna start going north. And then head back to base. Going through, I don't know, I'll see what the route takes me, but it's going to be quite cold up there. I'm going to stop when I need to for kind of like rest and recovery, and then also to dodge rain and wind, because I don't need that on top of the cold. So we'll see how that route looks. Oh yeah, I'm so lucky that I think the last time it really rained was when I was in Lake Como, which was I think like 20 days ago, almost 2 weeks ago. I know, it's been very lucky.
That's lucky, really lucky. Have a good night's rest tonight, and make sure that when you camp next that your silver side is on the right side.
Yeah, that was so cold, honestly.
Silver side up.
Silver side up. Yeah, it's because it reflects the heat from the body. And yeah, I wasn't doing much facing down. And my sleeping pad is like an inflatable thing. It's so annoying because it deflates by the time it's morning. So I blow it up before going to bed, and I wake up and it's literally just like this.
Yeah, Daddy will talk about that. Daddy will tell you about that. You're camping for life.
That's so funny. I think I remember that story.
I'll pass you. Yeah, Daddy did not do a good job of convincing me the camping.
It is currently day 49 and my flame is just slowly dying as I try and cook some soup. That means no porridge in the morning and no hot drink after this. I've got the balaclava on, so you can't really see me completely. Totally needed in camping in 0 degrees. You look kind of stupid when you're like this though, but it is what it is. Yeah, I'm gonna eat the soup, and then Perugia is the next stop, and I'm gonna head north, and it's gonna be pretty much the home stretch. It's gonna be Perugia to Susegana, and then that's finished. It'll probably take me 10 to 15 days to get back, which will probably line up with the beginning of December. Give me a few days there, and then I'll hit my 90-day limit. I'll pick it up tomorrow. See you guys then. Ciao.
So I finally made it to Perugia, and this would be the most southern point I'd hit on this part of the journey. Perugia again is on a big hill, but very beautiful inside. You know, it's pretty much fully concealed by its walls, and when you get inside as well, there's very kind of tall buildings, very old and just quite rustic. And I got lucky this day in terms of there was like events on, you know, there's performances in the square, but then again, it was extremely busy. I think it was a Saturday, and yeah, it was just completely packed, very touristy. But it seemed like the tourists here were from other areas of Italy.
You know, it didn't really seem kind of like an international hotspot that said like Rome and Milan. And I worked my way around, and yeah, there was a very cool view out the back that just kind of looked over the lower portions of the city, and then also the hills in the distance. So after Perugia, I started heading north now to go back to basically the airport to go home, because I don't have Italian citizenship yet, unfortunately, so it means I'm limited to 90 days within the European Union and the Schengen zone. So I had, a couple of weeks left before I was going to overstay my limit. And if you do that, there's the potential for fines and potential bans from entering the zone. So I was just like, I need to get back and basically sit out 90 days, and then I can come back and do the rest, which I knew before doing the trip, and it kind of worked out well because it would mean I would also avoid the colder areas. Day 51. We have left Umbria and we're heading north now to to Florence, Firenze. I'm going to stop off in a place called Arezzo and get a hotel there for the night. The last two I've been camping, and I found it's a good way to battle kind of illness and then also body tiredness, fatigue. If I get a hotel after 2 or 3 days camping. Plus, I smell absolutely terrible. So I can wash my clothes, have a shower, well, hopefully have a bath. I think this place had a bath. But yeah, today, I'm really happy with today because it said it was gonna rain, and I was thinking of just booking a hotel where I pretty much camped in the tent, but the sun came out and it just pretty much cleared the entire day. So it's perfect. And my body feels quite good because last night I camped with the thermals I bought at Decathlon because I was getting quite cold during the night. And I've been using the bivvy bag that I have, which is basically just an emergency foil blanket around my feet because I think the moisture from the tent was creeping in onto the sleeping bag there. But anyway, I'm pezzing it along this road. This is perfect because the road was interrupted back there because a house fell down into the road, which I don't know, it might happen quite often around here because there are a lot of ruined houses that are just left there. But it means that there's no cars here. So at this point now, I was deciding which route to head back, and I decided to go through Florence first, and then Bologna, and then pretty much make it the home run back to Colfosco. And at this point as well, my body was quite weak. You know, the cold was bringing me down, you know, my diet wasn't the best, and it was kind of all adding up at this point. And you know, lying on the floor in the tent is not good as well for the body. So it was a very difficult cycle to get to Florence. I went as fast as I could, to be honest, because, you know, I just wanted to get there. And I stayed in Florence for 4 nights at a very wonderful hostel called Yellow Square. You know, it was very affordable at that time of year. I think I was paying maybe 20 euros a night, which, you know, is kind of expensive in the scheme of hostels. But like, this is one of the best hostels in Florence. And, you know, peak prices could be like 60 plus a night. So got a great deal there. It's pretty much fully self-contained. You can't see any kind of like resemblance of Italy. You could be anywhere. But, you know, they got a wonderful cafe, bar at the bottom. The rooms are clean and tidy. You know, I was in a room before. So it was quite a nice respite away from the cold and just be able to kind of rest the body and recover. So I pretty much stayed in a hostel for most of the time I was there. But one of the days I did go into Florence to explore it. There was this museum that I wanted to visit that I couldn't quite get entry to last time because it was very busy. It's called the Galleria degli Uffizi. I think I said that correctly. But yeah, it's just full of extremely old Renaissance paintings and everything. There's quite a few famous ones in there that you'll probably recognize. And I went around the gallery. It was very cool. I can 100% recommend it. It's pretty much what most people recommend to do when you go to Florence, and I can see why. And even just around the area, you know, there's some beautiful statues, very famous. You've probably seen pictures of them as well. But yeah, just very beautiful to walk around. And Florence is so big that you can just walk around for the entire day and just kind of get lost in the alleyways and stuff like that. So I rested and recovered over those 4 days in Florence, and now it was to head to Bologna. And thinking back, I honestly don't know what made me choose the route that I did. I went out northwest to Pistoia, and then I went over the hills there to get to Bologna. Looking back at that now, I was like, why did I do that? Because I pretty much could have gone around the northeast and avoided most of those hills.
a partire, perché vedi c'è le cascate.
Just did a whole monologue for the camera and realised I wasn't recording. I pressed stop and then it did the sound for start recording, which is so annoying. Anyway, recap. Left Florence this morning. I was staying in the Yellow Square hostel, and I stayed there for 4 nights, living kind of like a good life. It's probably the best hostel I've been to, the best hostel chain. It's just
very social, very good amenities. Like the cafe is absolutely wonderful. They do events like every night, and it's just such a hub of like people, you know, international people. You're speaking to people every day. It's really nice. But yeah, eating well as well. In the kitchen, I was just making the meals I'd make at home, so getting all those nutrients in, getting the macros. Had a good breakfast this morning, and then lunch was good as well. I stopped at this bistro in Pistoia. I asked them for some pasta, and they had all kinds of like fancy pastas with ragu and things like that, but I find that just sits so hard on the stomach sometimes. If it's not made with a lot of care and simple ingredients, then it's very heavy on my stomach. So I just asked for some cacio and pepe, and they did it. Usually restaurants wouldn't do that to go off menu, but yeah, it was very nice of them. It was absolutely delicious. I didn't get any footage of it, sadly, but yeah. So I'm gonna set up the tent, and then I'll probably be able to chill for a bit because it's only like 5:30, and yeah, maybe get an early night. My left hip was giving me some ag today. I think I was pushing a bit too hard at the beginning after all that rest, and yeah, probably get to Bologna in 2 days, and then after that heading back home, which will probably take me a week. Yeah, I set up the tent, very cold now. I got double thermals on, and we're cooking up some soup. So I'm just next to the road, and I can hear a dog barking, and I can hear the cars, and earlier there was some rustling just outside the tent, like definitely footsteps, but it seemed too light to be, you know, human, and a bit too quick as well. Probably a small deer, because there's no dog barking nearby. That would definitely be one of the worst kind of situations to have like a dog kind of just barking at your tent. Yeah, it's like running around around my tent, and it's like snorting. Yeah, I think it was a boar. He was getting very excited, running around the tent and snorting. He's come back a few times. But yeah, ate my food, chilled for a bit, edited some of the video. Hopefully my hip is good for tomorrow, because there's a lot of elevation still to get through.
And I was working my way through the hills and kind of like the valleys here, and I was going for a good couple hours, and I was, you know, feeling very weak again, very hungry, and I decided to stop in this place called Taviano, which was the first kind of place that had an open restaurant, and went in there and I just ordered this big pizza, big plate of pasta as well, and I ate pretty much all the pasta and about half the pizza, and I decided to save the rest of it for that evening.
Hai perso la cameriera forse?
Sì, sono solo proprio, io non ce la può, io...
Oh, vabbè.
So I finally made it to Bologna, very tired. I booked a hostel for 2 nights again, and just kind of rested there. And one of those days I just decided to get moving. I decided, I should at least move from my bed. And I went to San Luca on the hill, that kind of overlooks Bologna. It was a very big climb, but I only took 1 bag on the bike, so it was unloaded. But even then, it was still such a difficult climb. But very beautiful up there, a very kind of lovely orange facade. Just overlooking Bologna, it just looks very beautiful. Leaving Bologna, heading northeast again. This was the home stretch, and I decided just to, put my feet down. I'd pretty much recovered from staying in the hostel, and I just thought, it would only make it worse if I camped and just got cold and went slowly, so I was just like, I just need to get back. So I've finished this leg of the trip. Yesterday was day 61 and I did 180 kilometers to go from, I was on the border of Veneto, I think, and I went from, well, see it on the map, and then I went from there to Susegana. That was 2 days to get from Bologna to here, which, it's quick for me. 1 day, 180 kilometers. I think it took me like 9 hours on the bike, 9 to 10 hours. It was tough. My hamstrings were feeling it for sure. But I leave on a plane in 2 days. I need to just clean up all my stuff, clean the bike, and then just store it, and should be good to go, really. Yeah, it's so strange. It's so weird when you do things like that, because once it's over, it just feels like it never happened. Stuff like that happens to me when it's like I have all the memories of it, but it feels like it never happened. I guess that's what, it's such a strange feeling. But the plan is to head back to the UK, do the cool off for the Schengen zone. So I think I've been around nearing the limit, like 85 days, so I'm going to have to stay there for the equivalent amount of time, and that will probably bring me from mid-December to mid-March, and then I'll come back to Italy and then head south and complete the rest of it. But yeah, there's definitely a lot to learn, a lot of lessons, but ultimately the setup that I chose has performed exceptionally well for a first time. But you know, all the information's out there now, and it's so easy to get good information, you know, because you literally have access to people making videos who do trips, you know, even more kind of optimistic than this, you know, like do deserts, national parks in America, places where you don't see people for days at a time. Here, you know, I see people every day. I don't think I ever went a day without seeing someone. That's 2 months on the road pretty much. That's 61 days. I'm very tired. I had to sleep last night and I should have had a nap earlier today, but it's probably time to still do that. Anyway, let me clean up the stuff and I'll try and give the bike a wash.